So if we take a look at page number 27 in the packet, question number 4 is asking us to find f of negative 2. Now the functions that we're referencing are the f, the g, and the h that are actually up at the top already, but in this case I'm going to use the function f of x. So since negative 2 is being substituted in for x, I would say that f of negative 2 is equal to negative 2 squared plus 5. It's really important to make sure that the negative symbol's inside of those parentheses. So that way when you square it, you get a positive 4. We still have our plus 5. And as we simplify, 4 plus 5 is equal to 9. So we would say that f of negative 2 equals 9. Or the value of our function, the output that we get when we plug in negative 2, is going to be 9. Next up, it looks like I have h of g of x. Now it's h of g of negative 3 actually. And so since it's h of g of negative 3, you see the first thing is g of negative 3, and what's on the outside is h of that value. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my g of x, and I'm going to plug negative 3 in to g of x. So g of negative 3 is going to equal 9 times negative 3 minus 1. 9 times negative 3 will simplify to negative 27. My minus 1 is still there. And that will simplify to equal negative 28. So if g of negative 3 is equal to negative 28, then I can replace the g of negative 3 that we had up top with negative 28. The two values are interchangeable. So now I'm going to take my negative 28 and find h of negative 28, again, getting that from my output of the previous function. And I'm going to do negative 2 times negative 28. Again, much like the last problem, what I'm doing is I'm substituting the input in for x, leaving parentheses around it to make sure that I keep my signs and operations cool. So since it's negative 2 times negative 28, when I multiply those two values together and simplify them, I find that I get positive 56, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And this means that h of g of negative 3 is going to be equal to positive 56. For problem number 6, we have f of h of 1/2. Again, our innermost function that we're dealing with is h of 1/2. So in this composition, I'm going to find h of 1/2 first. And h of 1/2 would be equal to negative 2 times 1/2. Again, pulling from the function that we had up top and plugging the 1/2 in. Negative 2 times 1/2 would give me negative 2 over 2, which would simplify to equal negative 1. So this means that h of 1/2 is equal to negative 1. Now I'm going to take that negative 1 and I'm going to plug it into my function f. So f of negative 1 would equal negative 1 squared plus 5. Again, that negative is being squared. So a negative times a negative yields a positive. And I get positive 1 plus 5, which would simplify to equal 6. So f of h of 1/2 is equal to 6. I'm going to trim that down really quick just so I have enough workspace. And what's last for me is to find h of negative 200. So I'm just using the function h of x, and I'm plugging 200 in. And so I would write that negative 2 times x, but replace negative 200 in place of x. And negative 2 times negative 200 will yield a positive product. And that positive product is going to be the product of 2 and 200, which yields 400. So h of negative 200 equals 400.